Hey, what's up guys, it's me Parksy here, your coach of the Armada, just bringing back the Smash today here for DGBA Season 9 Finals versus Manly Soup and the Carolina Pine Groves. Quick backstory, this is actually the first time I believe I've ever actually made it to the finals in the league, draft league that is, as my previous attempts in the DGBA Season 6, the BRL, which I was actually playing, I believe the BRL Season 3, that I was playing alongside this, but of course I was having my main focus on this, since the DGBA obviously is the main server that your boy is the face of, and then the first ever league that I took a part was a part of, which was commissioned by MX3. Those are the only three leagues and seasons in said leagues that I've ultimately managed to make it to the semi-finals. So ultimately making the finals in the DGBA Season 9 is super is just a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a really good accomplishment for me. But if you want to see the path that I've managed to pave myself, make sure you go check out some videos on my channel. They'll basically tell you guys the journey that I've went to get to this spot right here, our record, just basically showcasing my team and what it has managed to do since it has been extremely impressive. And definitely I want to draft a large majority of these Pokemon come a future um, uh, league or whatever. So that, with that said, of course I'm going to go run through my team. Of course we're going to be playing against Manly, so he has just ultimately been destroying this season. I mean, he's done incredible. There's so many scary threats in his team. His team is definitely the best team, in my opinion, that we've seen this season, and one of the best teams just ultimately in DGBA history. It's so terrifying. And his logo is it's pretty spicy, but yeah, fortunately his team is a lot better than his logo. So yeah, we're going to be going over my team first, of course. If you guys don't know it by now, then shame on you. But pretty much it consists of Crobat, Azelf, Alolan Persian, Heliolisk, Zyger 50%, Mega Scizor, Volcanion, Chestnut, Sylveon, Swampert, and Aurorus. So my opponent's team has got on it Mega Alakazam, Greninja, Terrakion, Kieran Yuxi, Landorus Therian, Mudamuro, Klefki, Vullaby, Aldino, and Toxapex. So that is his team as well. So the first thing that I really have to point out about this team is that it is absolutely terrifying. Things like Mega Alakazam are the league's kill leader, I believe, with 18 kills and only like 3 deaths, which is absolutely insane. So he's really been allowed to do a lot of work with it, and really I think that success comes with a lot of teams actually underrating it as a threat. Like Mega Alakazam, all it needs is like 30% chip on a Pokemon is suddenly able to 2 KO with its stab. It is honestly so terrifying, and due to its speed tier, it's also allowed to run modest in most games. Fortunately, I think Crobat's going to force it to try and run timid, but modest Alakazam just can do really crazy things like 2 KOing Clefable as well, so that's a pretty insane feat that it can also pull off. And he's also managed to do some really cool things with the Greninja. I think that a lot of people underestimated on paper, because they just assume that it's going to be like a spiker. It doesn't really hit that hard, but I think that he's really managed to abuse the coverage that Greninja gets this season, managing to a lot to be a really good breaker. He's also got really scary things in his team, like Terrakion, that its dual stab. A lot of teams can't take, and not a lot of Pokemon can actually take rock stab into fighting stab, and my team is no different. I don't have a switch into the combination of rock and fighting, and yeah, a lot of other teams haven't either, to be honest. And then it's also got some other scary threats like Hiram, that's just got a ton of coverage. Landorus Therian, that is of course incredible, especially with this being Generation 7 against Sea Crystals. Fortunately, however, that means that Kieran does not get Dragon Dance, because Jenny definitely gave it a solid boost on that front. But pretty much the scariest thing about his team is that every single Pokemon except Audino, all the other 10 Pokemon I feel like are viable in this game. Even something like Vullaby that a lot of people might scratch their head at because of the 1 or 2 point costing Mon. It's a legitimate threat versus my team, because it gets access to Fire Play, meaning it can be a pseudo response to my Zygarde. It's bulky, it gets Recovery and Roost, it can default hazards away, it's got momentum, so even something as small as a Vullaby can actually have a pretty big impact in this game if it does play with it correctly. So I definitely have to keep my guard up. Fortunately, however, there are a few abusable things about his team that I can take into my team building consideration, and basically I've done that throughout the whole season. I've always said I try and look for some one or two things that I try to abuse about my opponent's team, and he is no different. Firstly, you might notice that he has no fire type on his roster. He has got obviously things that can really pressure steel types, but nothing that can ultimately have the fire typing to really respond to Mega Scizorus. Mega Scizorus, arch nemesis, of course, is a fire type Pokemon that can take a steel stab while also being able to pretty much threaten an Oko almost universally. So that's kind of good for me. However, I know that he's going to be running Hidden Power Fire on at least one, if not two Pokemon on his team to try and make up for that lack of fire type on his team. So Mega Alakazam, 99.9% of the time is going to be running Hidden Power Fire to try and hit my Mega Scizor. That's just something standard that he really needs to have. And then he's also probably going to have something like Rotom Mow, maybe carry a little Hidden Power Fire. So I definitely have to keep my guard up for that. But yeah, Mega Scizor, apart from that, is also really good against his team. And also he does not have any responses to 1000 hours in his team. None of his team can resist 1000 hours. Sure, he has pseudo responses like the Luxie, like Intimidate, Landorus, Therian. Excuse me, but 1000 hours still is just incredible versus his team as Rotom, of course. Even though it is a levitating Pokemon, you know, he's picked the wrong ground type to face off against, because I can just fire out 1000 hours, and due to also being part electric type, it is going to be hit for some really nice damage. So that's pretty much all I want to say about this team, and nothing more that I really want to clarify. Let's get into it. So the first member of my team is going to, of course, be the Mega Scizor. I've already said that Mega Scizor is really good in this game. I kind of hinted at it, and now I'm showing you the set. This Mega Scizor set really is just good versus team. A really good breaker. This is going to probably be my mid game breaker, maybe early mid game, but nonetheless, it's just really good at being able to take down Pokemon with it, and just check what it needs to check, really. Most notably things like the Terrakion, especially if it is an SD variant, and it can also fire off full punches versus the Mega Alakazam as well. The speed allows me to outspeed things like, I believe, Min Speed Uxie, and also Speed Invested Rotom, but still a largely bulky variant of Rotom, but also might have a little bit of speed investment, so that's all good. We have got the Bullet Punch, of course, as I said, really good priority, allows me to respond to his more offensive Pokemon. And then we've also got the Facade. Facade is really important versus his team because it allows me to set up on another option for a Mega Scizor lure, being a Will-O-Wisp Rotom, and it also allows me to set up on the Toxapex, while also with a +2 Facade being able to do huge amounts of damage. Burst It Roost also allows me to stay healthy in case I need to use Mega Scizor as my response to a potential Terrakion or Greninja, and both of those cases I can have Mega Scizor healthy, but again, really solid defensively, has some really good offensive options as well, and this 252 Adam set is definitely going to pile on the damage, so I like Mega Scizor, and this is also really good at blocking one of his ways that he might try and deal with, it being just some fat like Toxapex or Rotom that can ultimately try and burn it. So with that, the next member of my team on my win con is Zygarde. This might seem a bit standard to go with. It might not really be that flashy of a win con to go for the final game, but Zygarde ultimately does what it needs to do. I mean, Dragon Dance, +1 with Draconium Z, can do a ton of damage to his team. All they really need to do is chip down a couple of his members, like the Rotom, like the Uxie, and like the Landorus Therian. Off the top of my head, there's just 3 main Pokemon that I need to chip down. Of course, the Vullaby, but I mean, I don't think that Vullaby is one of his more likely members. I think that there's a very solid group of 7 that is most likely to come versus me, and I for that group of 7, really the 3 that I mentioned do need to get chipped down, and I can. My team is very good at that, with things like Facade and Mega Scizor being able to wear down even some other responses to these, or like Bulky Rotom, of course. But I have got the Extreme Speed, of course. Extreme Speed really good priority for someone like a Choice Scarfer that might want to try and revenge me, maybe a Choice Scarfer Greninja with Ice Beam, maybe Alakazam if he wants to try and come in, I don't know. But then we've also got the Draconium Z Outrage, which is just a complete and utter nuke. This is Fairy type is Klefki, which definitely is not going to appreciate 1000 hours, and the worst thing Klefki can do is pretty much go for Toxic, as sure can try and go for a foul play, but Klefki really most Clefties with a little bit of chip damage are going to just completely fall to 1,000 hours. So yeah, again we got pretty much a good bit of speed on this Zygarde. This is going to allow me to outspeed some things on his team, such as Kyurem, and I believe we also can outspeed maybe min-speed Terrakion, but most notably this allows me to outspeed Alakazam after one Dragonite, and that's the most important thing, while also retaining my adamant nature, allowing me to break through a lot of other Pokemon like Landorus Therian a lot easier and require less chip damage versus them. Ultimately, I think my Draconium Z does like 60 to 70% per set, which is yeah, pretty insane damage. So again, really good late game win con. Just hoping that I can get a lot of chip versus team and kind of abuse the fact that a lot of his walls, like Uxie, Rodamo, I think those are the two most notable ones. Even Klefki are going to get worn down a lot in this game, and once they do, then Zygarde can kind of just go off. So the next member of my team is Swampert. We brought Mamopert versus Luke, and we're kind of making a semi-return, because we do have the Mamoswine coverage with Earthquake and Ice Beam, but we do have a bit more defensive estimate than that previously. Earthquake, of course, allows me to hit things like the Greninja for good damage, and also be able to threaten out the Terrakion as view of one of our dual stabs that do allow us to 2 KO it and keep it at bay. Ultimately also allows us to threaten Toxapex. And then we've also got the Ice Beam. I was originally running Scald, but ultimately Ice Beam's damage output, even though it doesn't knock out Landorus Therian, is still going to do about 80%, so that is huge damage, which is of course going to put it into range of a Zygarde Extreme Speed if I need to be in that range. And it also allows me just some damage to hit the Rodamo better. Originally I was going to run Stealth Rocks in the Swampert, and spoilers, I don't actually have Stealth Rocks on this team. I was just looking over it, and Stealth Rocks don't really help me out that much, rather than the extra option to have just the extra move slot on my Swampert, and that is going to be Protect. Protect is really nice because I know that Manly is probably going to be running a few tech things on his team, so that can be nice. It allows my Swampert to have a little bit easier of a time being able to sponge hits, as it obviously can get 2 leftover turns. It allows me to scout out some things like maybe Choice Specs Kyurem, see what attacks they want to go for, and make my most optimal play there. See if he's trying to snipe my Mega Scissor with Hidden Power Fire, or go for something like an Ice Beam, or I think it doesn't get Flash Cannon, but like maybe an Iron Head if it's a Choice Scarf variant for my Sylveon. Also allows me to take things like a +2's flying EMZ from the Landorus better, ultimately making this a better check to it. Toxic allows me to wear down walls like Uxie, like the Rodamo, like the Volibite that might want to come in on this Pokemon, take a hit, and try and be annoying. So that's pretty much it. Our defensive investment, I believe, allows us to take 2 close combats from Terrakion, and I believe the Spadef investment allows us to take a hit from I think a +1 Mega Alakazam, and also take hits better obviously from the Kyurem with the Ice Beam, as Toxic it might be a reliable way to try and deal with the Kyurem, since its dual stabs again are very scary versus my team with the combination of yeah, Dragon Ice and Hidden Power Fire. Can honestly be life over once with Roost. But that's pretty much it. We also have Damp, because firstly Torrent really is just not needed when you don't have a water type Pokemon in the Swampert, so I might as well run Damp. Damp actually, it's not completely useless in this game, because it might be able to help out with something like an Explosion Landorus Therian, trying to get about 50% off of my Swampert and put it into range of the Terrakion. So if he is running some sort of suicide lead Landorus Therian with Explosion, well, Swampert's just going to be able to chew that hit up very nicely because of Damp being able to make it immune to that attack. So that could actually have some very genuinely good upside in this game. So yep, got the ability to Damp. Probably the first time you've ever seen a Damp Swampert, but hey, that's pretty much it. We've got the Relax nature because I'm not looking to have any attack decreases, and my speed isn't really important in this game. I believe we still outspeed Audino even with the speed drop. So the next member of my team is Sylveon. Sylveon is going to allow me to get wishes into the Swampert, because Swampert is going to have to take hits from a lot of Pokemon in this game. It's going to obviously take hits from the Terrakion, from the Landorus. I said it might have to take a Kyurem, for the greater good of the team, being able to fire off Toxic and get that Pokemon weakened down, since my team is kind of weak to Kyurem, even though the Sylveon is built to take hits pretty well. If it gets weakened down a little bit, you know, never know, Swampert might have to come in clutch. Then, but we do have some pretty important investment. This investment allows me to take hits from the Landorus. If again my Swampert does get weakened, Heal Bell allows me to clear the status of my team, since he has got a lot of really annoying status users on his team. Obviously he's got the Greninja with Toxic Spikes that can be kind of annoying. He's got the Klefki that can spam Toxic or Thunder Wave. He's got the Rotom that gets Toxic Will-O-Wisp and Thunder Wave. Volibile can run Toxic. Just there's a lot of really annoying Toxic users on this team, and I really don't want something like my Swampert to get worn down. I also don't want Mega Scizor to have, even though Burn is nice for the facade, obviously, I don't want it to be a double-edged sword, and weaken my Bullet Punch output. So once I basically use facade to maybe trick the Toxapex 50% to come in and be able to knock that thing out, then I know they can fire off the Heal Bell of my Sylveon. Also helps me keep healthy versus something like the Uxie or the Rotom-Mo, excuse me, that is trying to 1v1 my Sylveon with Toxic, as I don't believe I've ever actually ran Heal Bell Sylveon before in this season, but it's coming now. And then of course we've got the Wish that can be helpful for the Mega Scizor, the Zygarde if my Swampert gets knocked out / is really weakened, and Zygarde has to become a secondary check to something like the Terrakion. And then we've got Hybrid Voice to make sure that things like the Landorus and the Terrakion are not going to have free opportunities to set up in this thing's face. So that's pretty much it. Again, we've got a little bit of speed just so that we can now speed the Volibile. Nothing else really, just maybe an Audino trying to speed quick my Sylveon as well could get a Hybrid Voice off, and it's at 20% and make or break the game. The next member of my team is Heliolisk. And one of the things I forgot to mention about his team is that his only electric immunity is Landorus Therian. Now, Landorus Therian is a great Pokemon, it's a great ground type, it's a Pokemon that I absolutely love and I really want to draft in the future. Maybe not in Gen 8, I don't know, it kind of got nerfed quite a lot due to the loss of Z Crystals. I think that Gliscor has quite a good bit of upside in draft than Landorus in comparison to previous generations. But yeah, Landorus is a great Pokemon, but it being the only electric response is kind of like if I only had Zygarde on my team. I mean, Zygarde, I can take it in Power Ice, but it really does not want to take it because it just is such an important member often of teams that are constructed. And hopefully, if I can force in the Landorus there and force it to take a hit in Power Ice, then that thing is going to not be able to sweep whatsoever versus my team, or its defensive duties are going to be greatly destroyed. As whatever it's supposed to take on is not going to be the case anymore, as it'll have all of its health deleted. But we have got the Hidden Power Ice, obviously to deal with the Landorus Therian. We have got the Hybrid Voice is really good mid-ground to be able to hit something like the Uxie or the Landorus or the Kyurem on the switch. If I don't know what's going to be coming out, if he's got multiple potential responses to Heliolisk, I can just fire off Hybrid Voice and get some really nice true damage. It also is nice for something like a Sub Kyurem that could be annoying versus my team. And there we've got the dual coverage with the Thunderbolt and the Volt Switch, being able to Volt Switch around with choice specs. Volt switches in the mid to late game if the Landorus goes down is going to help out my Zygarde a lot, as things like the Rotom-Mo, the Klefki are going to be forced to take the hits. And obviously Volibile does not want to be any part of a Stab Electric. It's choice specs boosted attack. I believe this is the first time they've actually bought Heliolisk since week 4, so let's hope that Heliolisk, even though it's a little bit dusty, it's been out of commission for about 2 months now. Hopefully I can come and put in a good performance in this game. Also allows me some really nice options to deal with a potential choice specs Hydro Pump locked Greninja, because I know the Greninja is an offensive threat. He has clearly proven that in his previous game, so I do want to make sure that I have some sort of standby water response to Heliolisk. You know what, it filled the box, it's got the dry skin ability, it's going to help out with switching into Toxic Packs as well, and provide another response to that as well. It's a Pokemon that isn't afraid to get the Skullbird because it actually helps it, gaining 25%. And yeah, Toxic Packs is definitely not going to stay in. So that's pretty much it for the healers. We got the Speed 2 outspeed Terrakion, and Terrakion is not going to appreciate a Thunderbolt. It's going to be doing about 60% to it either. As the final member of my team is a little bit of hate and a little bit of spice. You guys did not think that you're going to get out of this video for without any party prep. Of course not. This is the final of the DGBA. And I really wish I had water because my throat's getting a bit sore, but I can get some later. So this is a Choice Scarf Crobat. This thing is designed to lure in the Mega Alakazam and fire off a Brave Bird. As really Mega Alakazam again is a huge threat versus my team. The combination of Psychic and Hidden Power Fire coverage is going to be really scary versus my team. And pretty much I can try and threaten that with my Stab Brave Bird, which after a little bit of damage is going to be able to knock it out. It also is a really good way of being able to deal with Choice Scarf Terrakion, as Terrakion might come in and realizing that my or thinking that my Crobat is not Choice Scarf, and it might just want to fire off its Choice Scarf Stone Edge, but if it is weakened enough, then it is just going to be knocked out. So yeah, we got the Brave Bird. We also have things like Defog. Defog is nice because he does have several options for Spike Lang on his team with the Greninja, with the Klefki. He's got Toxic Spikes with the Greninja and the Toxic Packs, and he's also got a lot of good Stealth Rock users like the Uxie, like the Landorus, and like the Terrakion. So if it comes down to it, I can always defog them away, even though it is on a Choice Scarf Crobat. You know what, it kind of helps. Infiltrator again is nice for things like Substitute Kyurem, or things like Substitute Mega Alakazam if it wants to be sub-Kamai to attacks. Excuse me. Then, yeah, we can just come in Brave Bird and shock the heck out of Mali. So we've also got Roost to be able to get our health back since Brave Bird Recoil Plus will see potential Stealth Rock chip damage that Crobat has to take. It's going to be super obnoxious at points, so I have to make sure that I can keep my Crobat healthy, and that it can potentially come in and take a hit from something like a not even sure, maybe something like the Greninja if the situation does require it. And then finally we've also got U-turn for just momentum, and I'm hoping that if I can fire off the Roost maybe with this Choice Scarf set in the middle of the game, then come the late game he's not actually going to expect this Crobat to be Choice Scarf, and I can pick up a surprise KO versus this team. That's hope at least. So you know what, we can only hope that this manages to pull through. But anyway, this is my team, of course. This is my team that I've already told you guys that I'm bringing. It consists of Mega Scizor, Zygarde, Swampert, Sylveon, Heliolisk, and Crobat. Yeah, pretty much standard, just good bulky offense. We've got the standard Mega Scizor, Zygarde offense for Swampert and Sylveon for a good defensive background. Heliolisk and Crobat can pick up on the momentum, and we've got a sneaky little Crobat that can hopefully catch some of his team off guard. So his team I expect to have Mega Alakazam, of course, whether it's Substitute, Calm Mind, Hidden Power Fire, and Psychic, or if it's got Recover on that set or whatever. Mega Alakazam is a huge threat versus my team, outspeeding it and being able to threaten it with a Stab Psychic attack that really threatens a lot of my team. I could run Dazzling Gleam if I want to hit the Alolan Persian, but yeah, I think he's got some pretty good responses to Alolan Persian anyway. So yeah, Mega Alakazam traceability is also a little bit annoying for being able to pick up things like my Technician from my Mega Scizor, as well as also some other things like maybe Levitate from my Azelf if I want to respond to it with Swampert, or Dry Skin with Heliolisk or something like that. So I can pick up a few things. Landorus, Therian, it could be defensive. I think that defensive Landorus, at least from what I expect of these 6 members, is probably his best response to Zygarde. Of course, Hidden Power Ice is going to be able to KO it, and I can intimidate. Pretty good Stealth Rock versus my team as well, being able to threaten both my Crobat. Kind of my Mega Scizor, really depends on the set. And what's my other defogger? I'm trying to think. I don't think there's actually. Oh yeah, Volcanion. Yeah, which obviously is just going to get destroyed. I think I brought Defog Volcanion. Actually, no, I brought it twice, so yeah, fair enough. But yeah, the combination of flying and ground is really scary versus my team. It could be edge quick. It's got Z fly as an option. It's always got momentum. It's just super scary and force my Zygarde to have to put in, force my team to put in a lot of work really to try and go for the Zygarde sweep. Terrakion, whether it's Choice Band, Choice Scarf, Dual Dance, whatever, it's really scary. It could be a Z Crystal user, either of course the Landorus or Terrakion. One of them is going to be a Z user, and I definitely have to be scared of both of them because they are real powerhouses. Terrakion again. My team can't resist the dual stab of Stone Edge in close combat, so that's very scary as well. Just really good offensive member versus my team. Toxapex is next. This thing is probably going to be his main response to the Mega Scizor. Also allows him a Pokemon that can take the dual stab of Volcanion, and technically 1v1 a non-substitute variant of Volcanion with Toxic as well. I mean, Specs Earth Bar kind of hurts, but I mean, he has got good enough switches, plus Toxapex is so bulky it takes one anyway. Setting up T-Spikes versus my team also is not a bad option, as of course my Crobat is not a ground or poison type. I kind of hope some matches that it was, but it's not, so you know, we play the cards we're dealt. So yeah, Toxapex and Barrel Skulls gets Toxapex up, really annoying, can break down the defensive core quite easily. And it's got haste to always threaten things like Mega Scizor. Rotomo is next. It is a really annoying member versus my team. It could be a potential defogger, since it's got quite good matchups versus Swampert, Azelf, and Aurorus offensively. But I think the more defensive variant with things like Will-Wisp being able to be a pseudo response to my Mega Scizor and Zygarde both being setup variants is quite scary. It also gets reliable momentum with the Volt Switch, and Leaf Storm is of course a nuke. The combination of Grass and Electric is very painful versus my team. I pretty much have to use Sylveon as a switch in, and even things like Scarf Trick can really cripple some of my defensive walls like Sylveon, and really put my team on the back end, so that's kind of scary as well. As the final member of his team is Greninja. Could be a dual spike hazard lead, or it could just be some sort of life orb for attacks in the back. Whatever the case, Greninja is a huge threat versus my team. Its dual stab is, I believe, unresisted by the entirety of my team as well, and really good speed to allowing it to outspeed some of my Pokemon like Azelf and Alolan Persian, and only being outsped by my Crobat. That's pretty much it. It's a very lengthy team explanation, 27 minutes, my throat is dying. So yeah, let's get into the battle, the final battle of the DGBA. Alright guys, so we are back with the DGBA Finals match versus Manly Soap, and he's brought a very scary team. Of course, his team is absolutely terrifying. His draft just in general, I mean. And pretty much no surprises. The only thing he didn't bring that I thought he would bring is the Uxie over the Toxapex, which completely makes sense. Uxie is probably his main response therefore to the Zygarde, meaning that Landorus is more than likely going to be a dual dance setup sweeper with the combination of Fly with the Fly in EMZ and the Earthquake, since of course flying and ground has really good coverage versus my team being able to hit the entirety of my team at least neutrally and forces. Unfortunately, it's going to make Mega Scizor a little bit less useful this game. Its only real use is going to be to potentially stop a dual dance Terrakion with Bullet Punch, but I mean, it's still useful, but it's definitely not as useful without the Toxapex that I can lure in and be able to take down for the rest of my team to do a lot of work. So really, again, the late game win con is probably going to be the Zygarde with the Draconium Z. I can also make it Crobat if needs be, because Scarf Bravebird has no resistances whatsoever in his team, so if I can get his team shift a little bit, which my the likes of my Healist can do really well, then I should be able to set myself up really well in this game. But I am going to lead off my Crobat. Again, Crobat outspeeds every single Pokemon on his team, and if he leads off with a Mega Alakazam trying to stop something like my Swampert, the first turn that I can actually threaten it's with a U-turn, being able to deal some really nice damage to it. So I'm going to go select the replay, and we're going to go start up, as he actually is going to lead off with Uxie, which makes sense. He's probably going to try and get up some early game rocks, which is fine because rocks don't really hurt my team that much. Sure, they chip down my Crobat, which doesn't have any recovery outside of Roost, which is Scarf locked,
but it doesn't really hurt anything else apart from Crobat that much. And also, if it does come down to it, I can always defog them away with my Scarf Crobat if I want. So he's just going to set the Stealth Rocks as reveals to be. I do think max defense, but he's definitely got some defense investment on that Uxie, so he is just going to be able to set up the Stealth Rocks and reveal the leftovers. So no surprises there, as he is going to fire off the Toxic, the U-turn, and I'm going to fire off a Toxic, expecting his Rotom mode to be his main switch, and this is going to allow me to get some really nice chip damage off from that Rotom mode. Will potentially scout out a set to see what Pokemon I can try and get in versus this, and see whether what kind of status it's having, what kind of moves it is, maybe if it's a Scarf Rotom or whatever. So here I'm going to protect in case he tries to go for the trick or whatever. If he does go for the trick, then my Mega Scizor is 100% free, but he is going to actually reveal the Toxic, so he's probably more of a bulkier variant. My guess is that he's probably a secondary response to the Zygarde, while also being able to respond to the Mega Scizor. So again, I've got in my mind this is a Hidden Power Fire variant of Rotom Cut, as I'm going to go into my Sylveon since I've got the Heal Bell on this. I don't mind being toxic, I don't mind anything that I can go for, and he's probably not going to go for Volt Switch this turn because I did stay in my Swampert. So here he's unfortunately going to miss the Will-O-Wisp, which actually would have been nice because he's probably going to be able to fire off a Toxic here and force me to go for the Heal Bell. If he went for the Will-O-Wisp instead, that I wouldn't have been as pressured to Heal Bell. In fact, I probably would have kept it. But here I'm going to go fire off a Hyper Voice, as that Rotom really did not threaten me that much, and he's actually going to send in his Landorus, which is going to be 2 KO'd. Now I know that he's probably going to try and get off some damage before I knock him out with the next Hyper Voice, so I'm going to go for Protect here, and what I expect to be a Flying EMZ Supersonic Sky Strike. As it is, he is going to fire that off, and that is going to do very pitiful damage, and we are going to be able to actually fire off a Wish after this, as Earthquake is only going to be doing about 50%, and we are ultimately going to see what kind of coverage this Landorus is going to have. So this is very good so far. We've managed to get the Uxie chip down a little bit for the Zygarde, we've managed to get the Rotom Cut, Toxic, and we've also managed to burn the Z Crystal on this Landorus, while also being able to get it down to half. And we also know pretty much the movesets for his first 3 Pokemon, while he's only really established what my Sylveon is, which is just a defensive cleric, no sort of choice specs variant, which actually would have been really nice this game. So kind of sad I didn't bring one, but hey, hindsight's 2020. So here he's going to fire off an Earthquake, as we are obviously going to protect. I just want to scout out his moveset. I want to see maybe this thing has got Toxic as well, if it's trying to be some sort of lure for the Zygarde. Maybe he's going to throw off an occasional Hidden Power Ice, but I'm going to go out to my Crobat now, as I expected to go for the Earthquake, trying to damage my Sylveon. It also was nice if he wants to fire off a Taunt here, but I do expect this Landorus most likely to have just been a dual dance variant with Fly and Earthquake. As here he goes out into the Terrakion, as I'm going to get a huge Brave Bird off being able to put that into 2 KO range, and that's great because he probably is a Scarf Terrakion if he's going into that, which is my first thought. He could have just left it in and got 2 KO, but unfortunately he is going to switch out, which is fine by me because Uxie is going to take another good amount of damage, and a really nice 40% of damage from that Brave Bird. And I'm going to keep this Crobat because it's really good at being able to catch the Mega Alakazam off, but yeah, I definitely have 1 turn of Brave Bird recoil at the very least in it left to deal some really nice damage versus his team. This here is going to reveal the foul play, more than likely his response to deal with the Mega Scizor and Zygarde core that I have brought versus him, as here I can do a whole range of things with my Sylveon, but I was supposed to, but basically, yeah, that's what I was going to say. This Uxie is very pressured on this team because I don't think he was expecting Crobat to come. I was thinking that, probably thought that the likelihood of Alakazam, Toxapex, and all those bulky Pokemon, and even Uxie itself, threatened the possibility of me bringing Crobat, and that's why he, I guess, didn't really prepare for it as much, and he's really paying the price now because his main response, what seems to be Uxie to the Zygarde, is now being forced to take the hits, which is ultimately going to help out my Zygarde late game. So there's a bit of inside knowledge for you guys. Make sure to have really good diverse defenses, especially make sure that your defenses have recovery if they're going to take on more than one thing. So here it's going to take the toxic damage with the Rotom again, and I'm going to reveal the Heal Bell, allowing me to 1v1 this Rotom. Now it wasn't my Papa Berry, so unfortunately he is going to be able to stick around a little bit longer and threaten my Swampert, but once this thing goes down, then that's going to help out my Swampert a lot, because Swampert can pretty much be able to pick up a kill versus this team once this thing is down. So here I'm going to fire off another Wish into the air. I was contemplating going for the Hyper Voice this turn, but yeah, he is just going to take another toxic turn and another toxic damage here. I'm going to fire off the heal bell again. I want to go for the Hyper Voice, but I expect him probably to sack at this stage. But he actually fires off a Volt Switch and it's going to get in the Landorus. So I could have knocked out this Landorus and pretty much put Rotom Cut into a state where it could have been just knocked out by anything. But you know, I decided to go for the more safe play, and I think that ultimately that was better. It was less risky and it set me up in a better place because now my Sylveon's still at 100% for that Greninja that he's keeping in the back, which probably at this stage is either a Life Orb mixed attacker or a Choice Specs variant. So every little bit of HP I can get on Sylveon is going to be super crucial. As here I'm going to go into my Swampert as he is going to fire off an Earthquake. And Swampert now I'm going to be able to set up my Stealth Rocks with, and that's going to be really nice because Uxie needs that a little bit more chip damage to be put into range of the Zygarde's Outrage, or Z Outrage, sorry. Oh, excuse me, I actually go for Toxic this turn, so yeah, I was expecting Uxie switching, but he goes out into the Rotom Cut and he actually shows that he didn't have another Toxic turn in him, so he's just going to get straight knocked out, which is a little bit annoying because I would have liked to get that Protect up so we could get another round of leftovers, but you know, I can't really ask for that much. So here he's going to go into the Mega Alakazam, realize that I'm actually a damp Mega Swampert, as here he's going to fire off his Psychic, and forcing Mega Swampert is going to be able to clutch this hit is going to be able to chew it up, and he is going to be able to survive on 9% and fire off a really crucial Toxic, because this Crobat is tasked with dealing a potential Choice Scarf Terrakion, then this Toxic is going to be huge on the Mega Alakazam. Now going back, a lot of people are going to be wondering why I actually ended up sacking my Swampert when he has scary threats like potential Choice Band Terrakion on the back, and that is because Mega Scizor now is actually being able to turn into a reliable response to the Terrakion, since that is its sole reason for being on the team, and it is now more freed up, as it might have actually been potential death fodder if he managed to keep the Rotom Cut into the mid to late game, due to the fact that Mega Scizor really cannot touch it with its priority. And if he is a hidden power fire variant, which he isn't anymore, he's probably just up to a Wisp and Toxic, but if he was, then I probably would have sacked off my Mega Scizor with that knowledge in my mind that he probably would have had that, just because I really couldn't do that much with Mega Scizor. So he's going to fire off a Psychic, and I'm going to take this opportunity with my Zygarde to fire off the Dragon Dance. I do not think he's going to be Hidden Power Ice because he needs the Hidden Power Fire to actually deal with the Mega Scizor. So here I'm going to fire off the Dragon Dance, and I'm going to fire off an Extreme Speed, as even though I am a +1, I believe Mega Alakazam still, if he is like a timid max speed variant, can outspeed my Zygarde. So here I'm going to fire off the Extreme Speed as he decides to go into Uxie, which is very interesting because Uxie is probably the only Pokemon on his team that can actually take a hit from my Zygarde, and now due to the fact that it's had to take a +1 Extreme Speed, I can now just fire off 1,000 hours and get the very secure knockout on this Uxie. Now he's going to go into Landorus, and what his damage is shown is that he's highly invested in attack, and that I'm expecting him to probably have very minimal speed on this Landorus, and if that's the case, then I can keep my Draconium Seed to Oko the Greninja, and I can actually fire off 1,000 hours, which should be able to knock this off. Unfortunately, either I got a low roll, or else he was more bulk invested and just had a little bit less attack. Nonetheless, I just didn't get the right amount of damage to actually knock out this Landorus, and he is going to survive for this small slither, but that's alright because I can revenge him now with my Crobat. He does not know this is a Choice Scarf Crobat, so the likelihood is I can knock out this Landorus and then revenge the Mega Alakazam that's going to be coming in to check this Crobat. As here I'm going to fire off the Brave Bird, I'm going to take a slight bit of recoil, and this Landorus is going to drop. So that's really good because we've now got the Sylveon, which can take on the Terrakion and Greninja, and we've got the Mega Scizor, and again we've got the Heliolisk that can make it so that Greninja can't lock into Hydro Pump if it's a spec set, as he is just going to go sag off the Mega Alakazam to what I did not he probably did not expect me to be a Choice Scarf Crobat, but yeah, I'm going to be able to fire off the Choice Scarf Attack, excuse me, as he's going to go out Terrakion. This might be another knockout on the Terrakion, but he actually reveals it being Quick Attack, so I'm pretty sure now that this is a Choice Band Terrakion. And I really wasn't sure why I didn't go into this thing in the first place if he had Quick Attack, since it's just a lot more safe, but I don't know, he just probably did not expect choice Scarf Crobat, which is fair enough. I've been usually pretty safe in my Crobat variants. So here I'm going to decide to go out into my heal list, since I think that Sylveon is going to be a better responder to that of the Greninja, as here I'm going to be able to fire off a Thunderbolt, knocking out the Terrakion, as he is going to be forced to go out into the Greninja, his final Pokemon, and reveal what set he is. So he is actually going to be shown to be a shiny set, which I believe, I can't remember what shiny shows. I think it might have Gunk Shot if it was that, but even if he does out Gunk Shot, he shouldn't be able to knock out my Sylveon in one hit. He'd need like a crit, and he'd need to land it as well. So I'm pretty confident that I can clean up this game with my Sylveon, as he is actually going to show again the life orb, so he is going to be a life orb set, and he's going to fire off the ice beam, as fortunately we do not get frozen. We are going to be able to fire off the one final hyper voice, and we are going to ultimately be the winners of DGBA season 9. That feels so good to say, man. It's been about 6 seasons of the DGBA, technically 5 because I dropped out of season 3, but 5-6 seasons of the DGBA, 2 years of draft league contents, and I've never actually been able to win a single draft league until now, and I'm just super excited. I'm just so proud of myself that I actually managed to pull out a win, to be able to put all this time and effort into the team building and battling, and being able to draft the right Pokemon for my team. It's just all came together now, and I've ultimately just been able to manifest it into something that I can be proud of and always look back and smile on, to be just a souvenir of my success. So that's really good. I just quickly wanted to go over my team, if you guys don't mind, and why I think I've had so much success with it, because I do think that I played very well with some other teams that I have. I think that I played well with my DGBA Season 6 team, but that team I don't think was as solid as this one. I think this is the most solid team that I've ever drafted, and I think it's one of the most solid teams that I ever have. So this is all impromptu, so there's no script writing, there's nothing that I've got, there's no notes or anything, so this is just all off the top of my head. Some things might not make sense, probably at least one thing is guaranteed not to make sense, because this is me saying things off the top of my head. But here we go. So basically I started off the draft, and originally I did draft Deoxys Speed, but eventually I dropped it because of the lack of Stealth Rockers on my team, and that I felt that my team was a lot more top heavy, with the Lycanroc Knight and the Marshtomp being my final 2 picks, and ultimately being 2 out of the 3 Stealth Rockers that I had. I felt like if I could swap them for things like a Roarse, that I genuinely thought that I could have brought to games, despite people memeing on a little bit, and despite it only costing a few points. I genuinely thought that a Roarse had more versatility and more availability to be a reliable Pokemon to be brought to just not one game, but to a couple of games throughout the season. I believe I brought a Roarse about 3 times, so that just goes to show that it definitely has done work for me. Not even debatably, it definitely won me the match versus Chez. There was no question about that. Just Specs Blizzard just completely blew through Chez. But anyway, so I picked up a Roarse, and then I picked up Swampert, which I knew was a really reliable Stealth Rocker, and that ultimately secured a really good core alongside my Sylveon. So my draft wasn't entirely complete the first week that I had it. Again, there was a lot of holes, such as being top heavy, not having really that good of hazard setup, and I just think it didn't work as cohesively. But after I made the exchanges, then I felt a lot more confident. That's just something that I want to tell you guys, that always make sure to check the draft board, make sure to look at the availability pool, and maybe look around for some trades and ask some people if there's anything that they'd be willing to offer up, because you could always expand your team to new heights you didn't even realize. If you think your draft is good, well, there's an invisible bar that says it is very good, so you can always try and unlock that new potential just if you try and look at new things that are available, and not just settle with what you have, and try and just look and see if there's any other cores or any other Pokemon that are a bit sleeper, that were kind of sleeper picks and didn't actually get drafted, that could work ultimately for your draft. But yeah, the things like Zygarde and Mega Scizor were always a part of my plan. I think that those two break really well for each other. Most notably, they break water types very well for each other, as water types, they really take about 60 to 70 to even maybe 80% from a +1 Draconian Z from Zygarde. That ultimately allows them to put into revenge kill range from things like Bug Biter, U-Turn, Mega Scizor. So those were the two things that I decided to go for. Mega Scizor, of course, also allows a really good way to get in Zygarde, as most responses to Mega Scissor are going to be fire types. Again, fire types are great defensively, being able to take bug and the steel stab, and being able to fire off a super effective stab attack that is almost always going to be able to knock out Mega Scissor. And that allows Zygarde to threaten them with things like Choice Band, Thousand Arrows, or just set up on them in general, since it well, it doesn't 4 times resist fire, but either of its dual stabs threaten fire types, and it still is managed to have resistance to them. So that's really what I wanted, some momentum, and also dual priority, so that those two didn't have to constantly bring priority, since my DGBA Season 8 team, the only priority user, excuse me, on that team was Zygarde to my knowledge, and I just had to bring it really every week, just Choice Band Extreme Speed, because of the lack of ability for anything else to run priority. I think I had to run the quick attack Terrakion 2 or 3 times as well, but just to try and make that up. So being able to have the bullet punch that I needed, that was a lot more reliable of an option versus some sort of other setup sweepers that might be ghost types or might even be fairy types. Knowing that that was more reliable than extreme speed was very good, and then being able to pick up a really good defensive core that can come pretty much every single week with Sylveon and Swampert was nice. Making sure that I have something that can set up hazards as a utility approach, and also being able to have a cleric utility wise is all really important stuff that I felt like I could bring every single game, and that wasn't filling a slot and making it largely void. Like for example, you might bring a sticky web user that is quite low tier, like I don't know, like a Swadloon or a Masquerain just for sticky webs. You're kind of playing 5-6 down just to get a set of sticky webs in the game. But the Sylveon, even though it really was only there for one purpose, just to have Wish, and I didn't really bring it as an offensive variant, it just kept on bringing it as a Wish Pokemon. It did the work ultimately, and being able to fire Wishes most likely into my Swampert throughout these games have been extremely handy, as Swampert is able to come in and things that threaten Sylveon, such as the poison and steel type attacks, and be able to, of course, really hurt them with a stab ground attack. Then I decided to pick up some really good fast momentum with Heliolisk, Crobat, and Alolan Persian, which ultimately managed to mess up my weak one opponent, which was JP, being able to break down fatter teams and be able to get us some really nice chip damage for the Zygarde or the Mega Scissor Wincon that ultimately need maybe 30 or 40% chip damage off and a lot of their walls to go for the sweep, since yeah, some of their attacks just don't have that huge amount of biting power that you might want. And yeah, Crobat also being a fairy response that wasn't weak to Hidden Power Fire was really nice, and allows some nice defensive utility on the team. And again, just Mega Scizor, it's good, but fairy types can kind of just run fairy coverage into Hidden Power Fire and kind of be done with it. So it's nice to have like a poison type Pokemon that isn't really super afraid to come in on fairy types and be insanely afraid of their coverage. Um, so that's that. Alolan Persian again being able to heal up things with my Zygarde and my Mega Scizor were great. And then also, well, yeah, the Azelf that I ultimately picked up as well was great. It gave me Stealth Rocks, it gave me so much utility, it gave me a U-turn, it gave me a secondary flyer, meaning that Crobat wasn't always threatened to come just to be my ground type response, and it meant that I wasn't as Edgequake weak. Um, and then Heliolisk, of course, I've already told you guys the story of Heliolisk. Heliolisk is just a phenomenal Pokemon. 3 Dry Skin allowed me a response to the thing that threatened Mega Scizor and Zygarde the most, being Scald, a really good neutral move allowing to burn them and really just deplete the amount of damage output that they could cause. Being able to have Dry Skin that actually gave Heliolisk an immunity while also allowing it to heal itself up 25% is huge. Heliolisk was also a low tier budget electric type that filled a really good speed tier on my team, and also allowed me to effectively threaten out water type Pokemon like another lower tier electric type like maybe Zebstrika would not be able to do as well, just due to it having a little bit less power behind it. So Heliolisk was great. Again, the normal typing was good, being able to respond to the ghost types as well, and meaning that Alolan Persian wasn't constantly forced to come just to be the sole response to a scary ghost type attack. And then there's also Volcanion, again another water immunity, which was fantastic. It threatened the two types that Mega Scizor hated, which were water and fire, and could just scare them out a lot. It also allowed another offensive response to grass types. I didn't bring Volcanion that much just because the speed tier isn't that great, but once it came, I felt like a lot of people acknowledged the threat that it was and were kind of in awe of its power, especially when I brought it as a Choice Specs variant. It was very scary, and that week 2 game versus Spoink was just fantastic. It put in so much work as a Choice Scarfer. I believe it got 3 or 4 kills in that game. So yeah, it was actually no, it got I'm actually wrong. I think it got 5. Yeah, it got 5 kills that game. So it was really good. So yeah, Volcanion was just great. It offered a really good speed tier. It offered again some really nice defensive and offensive synergy with Mega Scizor, and that was also a really nice thing about my team, is that it was just good and bulky. It was really offensive as well. It had some really good powerhouses like the Azelf, like the Zygarde, like the Mega Scizor, like the Volcanion that could all slap on a Choice Band or a Choice Specs, or in Mega Scizor's case just run some really offensive set and do a lot of damage. But they also could take a hit if it came down to it. So that was really nice as well, being able to essentially have a lot of really good secondary response as a Pokemon that could take a hit if it came down to it. That was a really nice thing about my team that I really enjoyed. Then I decided to pick up Chestnut, since spike stacking was something that I really liked on the team. Chestnut didn't really do that much work. I mean, it kind of helped out versus Chess in week 5 before it got crit. It did help out versus Rattata Man, being able to take care of the Rotom Heat. Unfortunately, the reason that I decided to pick it up, which was ultimately to have spikes to threaten an opponent, didn't really come into fruition that much in any of my games, but it still was just a good grass type. It allowed me a thing to kind of threaten any ghost types that wanted to, or just any specs or scarf choice lock Pokemon that wanted to lock themselves into a ballistic attack such as Shadow Ball. So that was nice, and then it also gave me a fighting type, so it's more to just fulfill 2 types that Chestnut was. But I mean, the spike support was nice. It was a good bulky wall. There really isn't that much to say about it. It was just good. Natural Fizz Def was also nice. I felt like I could have maybe picked up another Pokemon, another grass type that was a little bit more in touch with the team, that was a little bit more synergetic, since Chestnut often felt like the odd man when I was trying to put it onto a team. But it did come to some games, and it definitely had a presence. I just hope that it would have had a bit more of a presence in the games, and that's pretty much it. I mean, Aurora's is amazing. I kind of just picked it up because I knew that Chez was the #1 ranked team, and I did want to have a response to him, as well as I just looked at other teams, and people really just did not have that great ice responses, so having a potential Specs Blizzard user was also really nice. And then also, Swampert was just great, having really good defensive synergy with the Scizor, allowing Scizor can take up the grass type attacks that of course makes that Swampert just cannot take whatsoever, and then Swampert can really chew up the fire type attacks that threaten Mega Scizor. So that was pretty much it for my team. A really good breakdown. Again, there's some other really good synergetic cores like Crobat and Swampert. Again, Crobat being able to 4 times resist the grass type attacks. And my team just threatening grass types were so nice for things like, again, the Swampert and the Zygarde you see on this team. Yeah, so really having that core of Mega Scizor Crobat helped out a lot. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You might see some sort of out of the box videos for the next few weeks as I'm trying to find my footing. I'm kind of just stalling time before the BRL ultimately finishes, and I can upload that season, assuming that I do pretty well in it. So I'm kind of just waiting out the final few weeks for that to finish, and then I can upload it. Unfortunately, however, it happened before. Well, it's happening currently with no Isle of Armor or the Toussaint, whatever it's called. Before those updates are out, so I can't. You won't see any Flip Turn Tech or any Scorching Sands or anything like that. You might have to wait until like definitely a couple months down the line for that. But yeah, the next few weeks of content will probably be something interesting. I'm kind of just looking forward to uploading things that I ultimately just kind of want to chill out, record for 15 minutes and do. Because this, although I've honestly really enjoyed uploading this season, again, this final part of the DGBA Season 9, this recording has been kind of tough, just due to the fact that, yeah, I've been busy quite a bit. and also it's kind of just the final push to shove it out. And again, this is like a 50-minute video, so I put a lot of effort into this. It's probably going to be 2 or 3 hours ultimately behind the scenes of editing, of creating those slides, of making sure that I can rehearse these replays, although I did get a toxic turn wrong, which I don't think ultimately mattered that much in my narration. I'm not going to cry about it. So yeah, being able to make the Google Slides, go over the replay, pull all the things out of Pokemon Link, and just put all the information down and stuff, and try and remember all the EVs. It's been a huge task, but that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching and being a part of this. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this series, and also subscribe, since again I'm going to be doing some pretty interesting stuff on this channel. I'm definitely going to try and make a good attempt at it. But thank you guys for watching, and see ya.